Hello there. Welcome to the Creative Pathway. My name's Keith Surtees, and today I would like to talk about basically the current situation we're all in, the energy that is going around the earth right now in 2021, what started in 2020. We have, of course, everyone knows and cannot avoid the situation that we have with the pandemic. But this is just one, we can say, small part of a situation which is connected to the transformation, the general transformation and evolution of this planet. And I say this planet because people talk about humanity. They talk about economy. They talk about the markets. They talk about different countries, potential war, etc., etc. And what we need is something else. What we need is the feeling of a planet, a one unitary planet, a unit of life that is self-sufficient, interrelated, interconnected. We cannot survive, for example, without the beautiful common bumblebee, without the insects. We cannot survive without the pollinators that pollinate all the plants that give us the food that we need. We cannot, we know, keep expanding our populations with endless births. We need to have a regulation within the system which is based on the plans of what I call Mother Earth. Now that is basically one thing I really want to stress today in this talk. For example, Fiona and I discuss this a lot because actually Spain, where we live, is very varied. They grow a lot of food. We have mountains close by. We have flatlands, drainage lands where the waters come down from streams when there's a lot of rain and rivers. And you can see life very clearly. People who come to Spain often don't know anything about it, do they? They go to a place and they have a holiday and they get drunk. And if you're drunk, you don't usually see much apart from the person, and maybe 1 meter in front of you if you're lucky. But if you go deeper and you understand that going deeper is the future, then we can go deeper as a collective, as the collective human animal. And as we go deeper, what we find is that interconnectedness. For example, the meditation on a beautiful big tree. You can be looking at that tree in front of you, or you can sit with your back against the tree and you can feel that energy going through your spine from the root chakra, the bottom of the spine, right up through the system, up to the third eye, and even like a fountain of energy leaving the head. But what it does is it puts you in touch with the fact that that tree is the same as you. It's a life force with an energy system and the chakra system, or a subtle energy system. We are not divorced as human beings from the planetary system. We might think we are. In fact, most of us don't think about it, do we? It's about the next set of, I'm not going to even give a name, a particular brand, but it's about the next branded set of training shoes or t-shirt or the type of car we drive. And all of this is seemingly so important. Is it important? Is it really important? Is it important when we have massive problems with feeding the people of the earth? Is it important when we are destroying the Brazilian rainforest at an amazing rate? Is it important when we're having massive ice changes in both North and South Pole? Is it important when we see that the people who make your lovely little trainers are children enslaved in little factories in the third world? Is it important? What's the energy you're putting on your feet? You might have your little mark, you might have your little insignia that says this is, I'm not advertising no companies, and okay, you might have that insignia on your clothes, you might wear some t-shirt which says this or this, and yes, you can say it's better quality, and sometimes it is, but the point being, what is the energy in the production of that t-shirt? What is the energy in the production of those shoes? Now, if we look at that in relation to spirituality, everyone talks about spirituality, and they talk about everything, in my view, which is off planet, and what is happening now. And, you know, I must say that Fiona actually said this to me years ago, that there will be a rebirth of the Christian ideas, mythology, ethos, in a new form, which would be dangerous. And this is what we've got now. We have people talking about the 144,000 angels of God, which are coming back to put the world back, you know, through holy war again. Holy war! My God, have we not had enough holy wars through the years? We do not need a war to bring peace. You know, it's like saying, I need sugar to make my teeth strong, you know? Wars do not bring peace. Peace brings peace. So we're in a stage now where the pandemic is doing strange things. Yeah, we can see a lot of stuff, you know, about negativity of the pandemic, and we can argue with vaxxers and anti-vaxxers and all of this thing, which is possibly important. But what maybe is more important, I think, is the way that it makes us think about life as we've lived it so far and life that we've lived now. But even more importantly, it helps us to understand that what we think of as life, so-called civilized life, can end at any moment. The economies can break down, and we can see also from the fighting between the different political sides and big business, and it is a fight between big business and politics often. We can see in this fight the concentration of power in certain companies. And these companies, just like Google, for example, or Facebook, or the media type companies, social media, the concentration of power in these groups are giving to us all a channeled, as in building a channel, not as in channel from some spirit guide, but a channel as in a tunnel that is going deeper and deeper and deeper and darker most of the time. A channel of one worldview. A tunnel you go down, this is the way to go. This is the way to walk. It's almost like saying, if you go under here, you know, we're going to start a war because obviously, you know, we are destroying the planet. We're going to be fighting for the resources soon, so we need a big, 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 deep hole to live in and survive. That's not life. That's not life. Not when you think of this summer, for example, and the stuff Fiona and I talked about very much was, you know, gardening and flowers and the fantastic vegetables we can buy off good local growers here, and some of them are really they're not organic because the ground was old and not used for organic purposes. I think you need 30 years to clear the ground completely, but they're grown without modern pesticides and stuff, and also we have a chance to meet these people who grow stuff, and it's a feeling. There is a feeling in many countries. And then we looked at, you know, on certain people, because we have a lot of connection into the past, into Norway, Iceland and Sweden, because those were the countries we worked in a lot. We meet up with friends on the coast, from these three countries, and we have lovely evenings, and we sit and we talk, and we drink. I drink orange juice mainly and lemonade, in all honesty, but we drink and talk. And if you look at that, we see in those small groups a tremendous awareness. We hear coming out of their voices the same concerns that we all have internally. And those are, what are we doing to the planet? Can the planet survive this? And then we see things, for example, we live in the province de Alicante. And if you look in that area, there's a tremendous amount of stuff's closed down. Businesses are going bust. The restaurants that we used to go to, some of them very good, nutritive food, are going bankrupt. So the whole systems are rocking. At the same time, it's obvious that the social medias are interfering with our communications, and they are writing narratives, and they are blocking narratives, and they are creating blocks on the freedom of speech. And then we go back to our spirituality, and we pray, and we connect with angelic forces, we connect with the feelings of the soul, the higher self, the higher levels within us. Let's not call it higher. Let's call it the holistic levels within us. Because there's a problem even with that word higher that the New Age doesn't, so-called New Age, doesn't understand. If we go higher, we go off planet. There is a sacred lower deep in the soil, isn't it? Mother Earth is a lower energy. Lower in the sense of more physical. And yet, you see, there is a danger even in New Age speak. It's been infiltrated and played around with by governments. Don't think it hasn't. It's been perverted in a way. High and low are just a figure of speech. But if your hands and your nails are full of dirt of the earth, and you planted a load of tomato plants, that is high energy. If you're walking on bare feet in good soil that's not poisoned with loads of stuff, then that's high energy. So you've got to watch this high energy stuff, and and waiting for people always to save us. The angels will save us. The angels were with us. They are one form of spiritual force, and they are great masters. And then there are probably, if you think about the extensiveness, the total endlessness of the universe, there's probably masters that don't look nothing like us, don't even show themselves to us, because they're so different in physical form. If they come in physical form, we're like, there's a word, I won't use it, a phrase, but we'll be very frightened because they are so different. So there's more and more proof of our connectedness to the universe. So my line is this. A lot of what we see is basically, we can call it the illusion of life. We can call it the surface of life. A lot of it is also purely commercialism, including some of the so-called teachers of spirituality. Commercialism. We've got to get beyond this commercialism. And you can decide what's real and false. I'm not going to go into that. It's not my job to point out to people what to see and what not to see. But it is maybe my point as a spiritual teacher, and Fiona's point as a spiritual teacher, to make people, or allow people rather, to have strategies that work. So, for example, Fiona will talk much about her actually brilliant hypnotherapy training and work, because I've seen that she can change lives. She can take someone right to the bottom of pain and begin to alter that pain and basically replant the plant within that person. The life force is coming back, basically. So let it be said that, it's not the end of the world, that anything that happens is not the end of the world. Well, the thing that ends, always ends, is the physical form. We won't look like these bodies in a million years' time. We don't know for certain, do we? We probably do not look like we looked like a million years ago. That time thing of Neanderthal human beings has been pushed further and further back anyway. All of our history of humanity is being questioned. And then we have the fact that there seems to be quite a lot of very good evidence that we've never been a separate planet. There have been interactions with planetary intelligences at the physical level, going back through millions of years. So the idea that we're an isolated, intelligent form on one beautiful planet is maybe just a imaginary concept that we've all fallen for. There is no proof that we're not connected to other levels. There's no proof that there isn't things going on now that are unquestionable, that we cannot find solutions to by using our own technology. There are messages, there are signs, there are things happening to people, there are growths in human consciousness, there are changes within our psychological systems, our social systems, there are changes within our collective awareness, our meditations, our dream time, for example. Amount of dreams. This is really interesting. Talking to Fiona and myself, people, obviously a lot of people are talking to us now because they're stuck at home and depressed, and we're doing a lot of work trying to help people. And a lot of them are talking about their strange dreams. Why am I having such strange dreams? You see, that silence, beautiful, isn't it? Okay, and out of the silence comes the answer. They're not strange. They are the things that you will feel and see if you silence the mind, if you go into silence. And I'm not talking about the perfect meditation stance or the perfect form of yoga or Taoist, whichever word you deem to use. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking beyond the forms of the past. Those are forms. They are, I can do the perfect Karate Kid stance or whatever. They are just forms. What's behind it is consciousness, always. And consciousness is a collection of the intermixing of your mind and your emotions and the mind and emotions of others, plus the planetary consciousness, all combined. And what we're getting is a kick up the behind from the whole of the planetary life system, whether it be the bumblebees, the plants, the trees, the waters of the world, which are really raging at times, the wind, the planetary systems of balance and rebalancing, which are working overtime to repair the damage that we've done. And this is what we see all around. So what are we going to do about it? This is a very important question. And maybe the second question I'd like to put in this short time that I have to talk to you is, how do we bring balance individually in small groups? Okay. So what we do about it is find our own little pathway, little as in just one person or a small group of people, where we do something kind. For example, maybe we help someone who's living on the street. We go and see them every evening and take them a hot cup of soup, or something simple like that. Or maybe it's like we see a person kicking a dog, and we actually have the strength to go up and say, stop kicking the dog. It's not nice kicking that dog. Okay, it could be dangerous, but we're here to be cowards and always be quiet and always watch injustice go past. Or we're here to be strong and sometimes be spiritual warriors. Maybe this is the question we need to ask ourselves. But the main difficulty, I was going to use that name, problem, and I realised it's not PC anymore, politically correct. We're supposed to call it a challenge. Oh, well, it's a problem, same thing. The challenge or problem for us right now is that we have faced our own existential is existing, existentialist demise or fading away as the human race. The pandemic has made us feel like the people did during the period of the Spanish flu and other periods like when we were close to the potential of the atomic bomb going off because of the Cuba missile crisis, and the whole world was sitting waiting to see if it was going to end. We've been in those places. That was my lifetime, Fiona's lifetime. We was 5 or 6 years old, and we knew it was there as children. It was kept away from us, but it was on the news, and we heard it, and we knew it was pretty important, even though we were children. So we've actually faced this existentialist threat and this idea that humans can destroy our planet. And it's the young people who haven't really understood this yet. Not their fault. It should be taught. We should be leading people to a knowledge of the interrelated beauty of planet Earth, and the fact that that beauty and that web of life has a inbuilt fragility. It's fragile. It's fragile on a physical level. Well, put it this way, it's not that fragile. It could kill all us off and everything on it, and there'll be new life forms, but it's fragile for us individual life forms. And if we want humanity to continue, we've got to understand the fragility and the importance of each species of animal, plant, land types, mountains, rivers. And we've got to stop running our lives on pure capitalist ideas of spending, and so-called development, which usually is going into virgin lands and ripping out of it whatever's in the soil. And by capitalist, I'm not placing capitalism and socialism against each other and making a duality and saying one is better than the other, because both have the same thing. Socialism is collective greed, and capitalism is individual and small group greed, but it's still driven by the same economic principles, whether you call it socialism or capitalism. And it is a mistake, because what we should be focusing on right now, especially right now after this pandemic, is how do we create a healthy Earth? How do we deal with the problems? And why don't we just do simple things like, actually really simple, stop making plastic? Oh yeah, you say it's not simple, we have to have other forms of containers. Yes, we do. We can find that. We've already got lots of people who claim to have ways of solving that problem, and a lot of them are probably correct. So when it comes to this year, why not let us look at what we can do inside ourselves to heal the fear, firstly, and to understand, excuse me, and to understand that we are not little kittens, we are roaring lions or tigers if we wish to be. We have the strength of mind, individually and collectively, to make changes. But what we have to avoid is hatred and finger pointing. If we point to, say, a country like Russia, and we focus all on it's Russia's fault or it's China's fault, which is a current thing in the present moment with the USA. It's all China's fault, of course. China. It's a good way always for countries to get rid of their own responsibility, to blame another country. But we have to get rid of this. We've got to stop this blame of different parts of the world, different countries, different cultures. And we have to say, how can we help? How can we help the planet? and the human beings at the same time. And this, I think the simple solution is this: we need renewable sources of everything. And we need biodegradable substances, and we need to use them in all of our manufacturing. On top of that, at a deeper level, we can say, we need to believe that the world is more than things. And we need to look out, to be able to walk down the street. No, I'll put this another way. If we are walking down the street and we come up with 5 or 6 friends from a fancy restaurant and say, I'll talk euros, spend 500 euros between us, and there's someone on the floor with his dog and maybe another friend who obviously have nowhere to live and are obviously not just pretending, that we can actually give them something worthwhile. Maybe we can go and buy them a meal and bring it out. There's these things, these human things, that's so important that we get in touch with our heart. It's so important that we all realize, yes, fear for us, but what about those with nothing? What about those people who've lost their businesses? What about those people, like especially in the USA, in a few payments and they've lost their own homes? They've gone from being middle class to homeless people living in their cars. And if we can't help those people, if we can't do something that makes their life better, if we can't rally around and help those in dire need, then maybe it's a race with a failed race, because we've lost our hearts. So as the old North American Indians that I used to contact when I was first doing spiritualism, some of the early guides said, the white man has lost his heart. Not just the white man. But what they were talking about was mainly the people that came to their land were white. Others were brought there by force. And the others were the natives. And we need to look after every human being. At the same time, we need to look after and understand the beauty of this planet. So, at the beginning of this year, from Fiona and myself, these are things Fiona and I talk about regularly. From Fiona herself, we ask you, if you're spiritual, then realize it's not sitting looking at yourself in the mirror thinking you're doing a perfect spiritual asana or sitting position. But if you're spiritual, it's about what you can give. What kind word? What love can you pass through your mind? How can you affect the world consciousness with the power of your mind? By thinking kindly, and thinking about the pain of others, sending prayers out that pain is alleviated, talking about the need to look after all of life within our planetary system. So, this is what Fiona reminds me. Yeah, she reminds me sometimes. Is that so important, Keith? Well, she's my anchor. And she always has been. And she reminds me to not get too into the intellectual, because I love intellectual discourses, reading very deep books. She brings me back to earth, which is so essential. And she said, it's about feeding people. It's about caring for the person who hasn't got a house. It's about love. It's about helping the children in need. And it's about caring for the plants and caring for the animals we see here in nature. Like the time she talked to a giant snake, and I mean he was giant. It's on the road and she's talking to it. It was a bright, coloured, massive snake. I've never seen one outside the zoo like that, and she's talking to it. That's Fiona. But anyway, what she reminds me of always is to bring it to earth. Your spirituality must be earthed and practical,
Before it's anything else, it must be earthed and practical. And it's not about me, me, me. It's not about I am this and I will do this, I. It's about what can I do for others? What can I do for the planet? Okay, that's my talk for today. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening. And take care of yourselves and have a great day. Have a great year. Thank you.